Hey there, true believers, this is Chef Jack. What do you do when you want to try something different? When you want to break away from the Marvel versus DC dichotomy and, I don't know, try something new? Well, you turn to the independent comics, of course. The current independent comics scene is vibrant and thriving, and there's a lot of choices out there. Sometimes, maybe too much choice. How do you know what to read? Well, let me tell you. I've got a new batch of independent comic book reviews here. I'm going to let you know what I think of these titles, and maybe, just maybe, you'll give some of them a try. This time around, I'm taking a look at the following. Barato number 5. Bettie Page number 3. Black Hammer number 12. Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 11 number 10. Halo The Rise of Atriox number 2. James Bond Kill Chain number 3. Kill the Minotaur number 3. Normandy Gold number 3. Saltwater The Anarchy of Water number 1. And Zojja Khan number 2. Amazingly enough, true believers, out of all the independent comics I reviewed this time around, none of them earned 1 star. For that matter, none of the independent comic books that I reviewed this time around earned 2 stars. Folks, this was a pretty damn good week for independent comic books. The 3-star books are the average. They're the ones that don't really stand out. They might be enjoyable reads, but you're not going to be remembering them after a couple of days. Kill the Minotaur number 3. This issue started out with an absolutely fantastic scene between King Minos and Glaucus. It does a perfect job of showing us all exactly how bugnuts crazy Minos really is. And obviously, somebody who feeds innocent people to his pet monster is, just isn't right in the head, but Minos takes it a couple of steps further, showing that he is really a certifiable nut job. Unfortunately, that's about the only thing that's great in this issue. The characterization's shaky and unbelievable. There's little to no development of anybody. It all kind of gets boring after a while, and this is a horror comic. Now, the art is still engaging, and it has the appropriate amounts of gore. The design of the Minotaur is genius, but this issue just wasn't as good as the one that came before. Saltwater, The Anarchy of Water number 1. I should start out by saying that inherently there isn't much wrong with this book. I mean, the art is amazing, the story is compelling, the background world the story is set in feels detailed and real. There is a sense of something really going on here. Unfortunately, the story is only a one-shot, and it leaves out some background details that, it leaves us hanging. Us, the readers. We end up wondering just what the hell is going on in some spots. There are a lot of questions left unanswered. I mean, why is this civilization out in the middle of the ocean? Just what is this mysterious substance known as a qualum, and what does it do? How did the social system of the city come about? We get no answers for these questions at all. None. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a good read, but you're going to end up hungry for more at the end of the book, and you're not going to get any more because it's a one-shot. The 4-star books are the good stuff. Yeah, they may have the occasional problem here and there, but you will overlook them in a heartbeat because these books are just fun to read. Bettie Page number 3. Back when I reviewed Bettie Page number 2, I remember saying that the writers needed to figure out just what kind of book they were creating because it seemed to be a little chaotic. I think with their 3rd issue, they've finally done that. What we have here is a crazy alternative history with government conspiracies, spies and communists, and aliens. These guys are going for broke, they're having fun, and they're not giving a damn about what others say, and while this often falls hard, in this issue it actually hits the mark. This is an old-school adventure yarn from the 1950s serials. The dialogue here is superb, especially Betty's inner monologue, which keeps things moving ahead at a fast pace. The art isn't quite clicking yet, but at least it's serviceable and it's suitably atmospheric. If they can keep this title to this level of quality now that they've found their footing, I think they're going to be able to do fine in the long run. Black Hammer number 12. This issue takes focus away from the heroes who are stuck in the Mystic Prison and instead shines a light on the outside world. Specifically, it takes a look at Lucy, the daughter of the Black Hammer, and how growing up without a father is affecting her. The emotion presented here feels really genuine and not schmaltzy at all, which comic books can unfortunately become so often. The last part of this issue, however, is where Jeff Lemire's writing really shines. Lucy's beginning to get some of the answers she's seeking, but this is where things get flipped around. I am not going to spoil the twist for you, but I will say that this issue ends in a place you do not see coming. Unfortunately, David Rubin's art continues to be a mixed bag, and in my opinion drags the quality of the issue down just a little, but the quality of the story, on the other hand, is able to carry the weight. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 11, Number 10. This issue is pure setup, letting us know what the Scoobies have to do to put the stop to the big bad's plans. The fact that no one really knows who that is, ultimately, you know, it makes the situation suspenseful and a little scary. The dialogue has been talking about, you know, the government, quote-unquote, doing all the bad things, but the truth is, you and I both know, in the end, it's going to be just one person pulling all the strings. Megan Levin's artwork started off a little shaky in this issue, but toward the end, I thought it came together pretty damn well, and it does make the issue a little bit better than it otherwise would. I mean, you know, especially it makes some things that really shouldn't look cartoony, such as the dismemberment of a human being, not look cartoony. This was a fun issue. Halo, The Rise of Atriox number 2. I have to say, after the abysmal first issue of this series, I wasn't expecting anything good to come out of the second. I was pleasantly surprised. My opinion of the first issue is the same. I'm not changing it a bit. This issue, however, pulled it out of the fire, at least temporarily. Problem with the first issue was they were taking things too much from the human context instead of from Atriox. Around, you know, I mean, the series is supposed to be about him, so where was Atriox? Well, right off the bat, Jody Houser corrects that mistake with issue 2. The perspective in this issue is that of the Covenant. That's what we need to understand to make this particular series work. Houser does a fine job making this particular brute, who was always just a violent thug in the game, have reasons and motives behind everything he does. He's not just a mindless killing machine, he's a thinking, emotional being. The artwork in this issue was workable, but nothing that would stand out. And the colors, on the other hand, do seem intentionally murky, and it does work with the story. Normandy Gold number 3. Okay, this series is just getting better and better. The plot is ramping up, and Detective Gold is discovering the conspiracy that she's chasing is a lot deeper than she thought. We're being dragged along for the ride. Our hero, Normandy Gold, is not only finding herself over her head as far as the investigation's concerned, but she's actually finding that she likes the sordid life her undercover identity is providing for her. At this point, I quite literally have no idea what's going to happen next. But, you know, usually in revenge tales, this stops after the target's dead, and, well, the target's dead. But things haven't stopped, and it's just getting better. Once again, I want to warn everybody who's thinking about picking up this comic book. This is for adults. It has got a lot of sex and a lot of violence in it. And I'm not talking about the cartoonish Marvel-style violence you'll find in a Deadpool comic or a Punisher comic. I'm talking real serious violence. And the sex is pretty graphic too. This is just like one of the 1970s exploitation films that it's based on. None of it's gratuitous, and all of it serves the story, but I just want you to be clear on it. The 5-star books are naturally the best of the independent comics I am reviewing this time around. They may not be perfect, but they're pretty damn close. Barato number 5. In what may well be a record for a single comic series, this makes the 5th consecutive 5-star rating I have given to an issue of Barato. As I noted in an earlier review, the title of this comic means out of anger in Latin, and by that I mean doing things because you're angry. That phrase drives the entire plot of this issue. Everybody, the good guys, the bad guys, the guys who are just trying to survive, they're all acting out of anger, out of rage, out of a need to strike back. The tension in this issue is so thick you need a machete to hack through it. The art is atmospheric and slightly bleached out, giving the entire thing an amazing noir feel, like the story's happening at dusk. Thierry Labrosse, who does double duty here as both the artist and the writer, keeps up with this action. He has yet to disappoint, and I really hope that he can keep this ball rolling, because it would be a shame if it lost quality now. James Bond Kill Chain number 3. I said it during my last review of this title. The Kill Chain storyline, it feels like I'm sitting in a theater watching a Bond movie. The action is perfect. The story is just getting more intense. Everything is getting cooler. Even better, if you miss the first 2 issues of Kill Chain, you can start with this one and not feel like you're walking into the film a third of the way in. The art is solid. The action, the depiction of the action is some of the best I've seen put to paper. The angles that Casa Laguida chose to depict the action are genius. I honestly tried to find something to complain about with this issue, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. For a Bond story, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Zojja Khan number 2. In my review of the first issue of this series, I mentioned that this was so much more a character study than an action-driven comic. And you know what? I called that on the nose. This issue, we look deep into the character of Shannon, our heroine, and just how she teaches her morals and her ideals to the newly evolving Zojja species. They eventually come to see her as a god, teaching them culture and law. One of those things I really enjoyed about the comic is there's no angst here about, you know, oh my god, they think I'm a god, that's so wrong. She just accepts it. There's no hand-wringing here. There's no regrets. See, she sees the Zojja as her children, and she attempts to do right by them by teaching them what she thinks is correct. Intertwined with this is flashbacks back to her life on Earth before she came to this alien world, and it seems irrelevant to the plot, but I really am beginning to wonder if it's going to be forever. So that's my look at the independent comic scene this time, and I got to tell you, it was a pretty good look. There were some really fine books this time around. But tell me what you guys think. Have I sparked your interest in any of these titles? Have you read them already? And, you know, do you agree with my opinions? Do you not agree with my opinions? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you saw here, go ahead and hit the like button. If you really liked it, you know, you haven't done it already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do subscribe, don't forget that little notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. If you really want to help out, we have a VIDME page and a Patreon page. They're both linked below. Go ahead and hop on over to there, drop a couple of dollars in the till. It'll help us keep the lights on and the trains are rolling. But even if you don't, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much for watching.